Hey everybody, we're just getting started. People are coming in. We're just going to give everybody some time to come into the Zoom room for the social, the Deploy Solution Social. Thank you all for being here. I'm very excited to have our silver sponsor with us, Deploy Solutions. Nick Kellett is the CEO, and he's brought a friend of his with him, Kevin Jones. Hey, Kev. So let me say maybe a few things about how we've put this together and maybe how this is different than kind of a regular session. So going to the online format, we wanted to still be able to create some social kind of spaces, some more casual spaces. We're happy to have Deploy Solutions doing our social hour. I think we've got some prizes coming up. I'm going to let Nick and Kevin really talk about what they want to do. But originally, when we were putting this together, Nick, we were talking a little bit about, well, what would we like to do? Kevin Jones is Vice President of Product at PCI Geomatics, a very famous Canadian geospatial geomatics company, and he's got his own podcast now, as well as he did a hackathon with Deploy Solutions. So I'd listened to some podcasts and realized, well, Kevin's probably got the background, a lot of fun. So why not put the two together and present this social hour? So before I take off, maybe I'll let you two introduce yourselves a little bit and get started.
Sure. Thanks so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here at the social, and we're loving the online format and everything that you've done, John and Tessa. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. And my name's Nick Kellett. I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see that, Kevin?
Yeah, you're in a different mode of presentation. Like, we can see the presenter view. I'm not sure if you can change it so we just see your slide.
Okay.
You probably have to change the way that you present PowerPoint. So escape out of that, and then change it to the, I'm not sure if you know how to do that.
How's that?
Better. Perfect.
All right. There we go. Okay, so briefly about Deploy Solutions. So we're a Canadian software company. We build solutions for the space industry. We're doing a lot of space-related projects, and that's one of the reasons that we're really happy to be involved here and to sponsor this. And it also explains the connection that we have with Kevin, because we help sponsor and organize the Space Apps Ottawa Annual Hackathon. And you can learn a little bit more about us at www.deploy.solutions /project. I'm the founder and CEO, as John mentioned. I'm one of the lead organizers of Space Apps Ottawa. I've been programming, doing technology, speaking, instructing for a very long time now, for a wide variety of industries all over the place, and blogging since 2006, personally blogging recently on blog.nicholaskellett.com about travel, space exploration, and building software solutions. So I just wanted to mention that I will be speaking tomorrow at 11:30 on a software factory approach to space apps development and standardization. And so I really hope that you have a chance to attend that tomorrow. So that's me briefly. Kevin, what about yourself?
Sure. Well, I just want to start by saying that it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know Nick. I only met Nick a few months ago, I guess, less than a year ago. As John alluded, and as I have listed here, I have a long background in remote sensing application development, and I, was really hesitant to participate in hackathons before because I'm not really a developer. I mean, I know how to write Python scripts and things like that, but I can't really write code from scratch. Anyway, we'll get into that later, but met Nick when I decided to show up at a hackathon, and just absolutely hit it off. His enthusiasm, his his spirit, his desire to really learn about the space technology. You know, I learned that Nick, on his own, went to some conferences in Europe just to learn about the space sector, and has really made a decision to like pivot into this world. I don't think he was in this world before, and now he's in it, and it's great to have him. I think he's a great asset to our industry. So pleasure to be here. Yeah, just a few things about myself. So I've been working at PCI Geomatics for just about 10 years now, and my background, as I mentioned, is in software or remote sensing applications. And I guess the unique thing about my career path has been that I've worked with government, industry, and academia globally. I've had the opportunity to travel around the world and work with different customers all over the world. And I would characterize my experience as kind of spanning the whole value chain. Started working with RadarSat International, which is now part of McDonnell Dottweiler, or MDA, on the ground segment side of things. So collecting satellite imagery, everything to do with the RadarSat program. Then for a while, I worked for a value-added company called Vexcel. And my third portion of my career, if you will, is with PCI. So we've got kind of like upstream, downstream, and midstream. So I'm kind of in the middle right now. Although we're in the process of turning PCI into a little bit more of a downstream facing company. So that's really exciting. In terms of my passion, I love to swim. Got into swimming because of my kids. My kids are, well, they're not swimming anymore, but when they were younger, they got into competitive swimming, and I joined along with them, and I really enjoy that. Every Saturday for the last month, I've been going out to Plage O'Brien, which is out at Lac Meech. For those of you who know the spot, it's a great spot. You go for an open water swim there every Saturday morning with my kids, and it's awesome. And as Nick mentioned, and John as well, started up a podcast earlier this year. And it's really meant to shine a light on geospatial or Earth observation leaders here in Canada. I think I've done about 5 or 6 episodes. Had the opportunity to interview some really people that I certainly have a lot of respect for, like David Harper and Eric Laliberté, and even had the opportunity to interview the president of the OGC, the Open Geospatial Consortium, among others. So anyway, that's all about me for now. I can open my.
Oh, sorry. What's the drink of choice there?
I'm going to open my beer to try to get the ball rolling.
Oh, very cool. And so I was asking that question on the Slack channel. For those of you listening in, there's actually a dedicated Slack channel, and we welcome you to kind of pitch in some conversation, because we're going to ask you some things on there probably a little later. And the first question is, what are you drinking, alcoholic or not? I actually got some Irish whiskey. So this is Writer's Tears. I'm not going to consume it all in the next 45 minutes, probably. Depends on how this goes. But Kevin, I was just thinking, when you're talking about your podcast, it feels like there's like the before COVID world, which is like an eternity ago, and then there's what we're living in now. So I actually saw your setup, which is quite impressive. In February, I think it was, the snow was like piled high, and of course we had no idea that COVID was coming, and there's this, we're not going to see each other face to face, for a long time to come after that.
Yeah, we actually set up a studio with we have a plan to maybe not go as far as Joe Rogan, but that kind of a look and feel, where basically there's a YouTube element to it. It's more like live in the studio kind of feel. So we'll see if we get there, but for now it's broadcasting live out of my basement, which is where I have my office. So, but it's been really good.
Well, it was quite the setup. So we came together because of SpaceX Ottawa Hackathon, and for those of you who don't know, it's basically the Ottawa version of the NASA International Space Apps Hackathon. That's where I really partially decided to get into the space industry. So you can find out more about it at www.spaceappsottawa.com. But as you can see in that photo, this was taken last year, again, in that eternity where we were all meeting face to face. So there's Kevin, there's me kind of over on the side grinning at the back there, and a whole host of other people. We had a really good time over the course of that weekend. So we first actually met then. I think that was in October last year. Was that right?
Yeah, October 16, somewhere around there. Yep.
And you came in and you didn't know what to expect, but you had a great idea. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? So do you want to talk a little bit about the challenge and that was presented to us and sort of how that experience worked and your thoughts on that?
Sure. I mean, I think the beauty of the hackathon is as we go about our lives and in our careers and in what we're doing, depending on where we work, what we're doing, sometimes we get the opportunity to solve the problems that we're really passionate about. Sometimes it's, there aren't opportunities to do that depending on where you're working. And this is one that was kind of near and dear to my heart. I started my career working for RadarSat International. And basically, in April of 2019, there was this announcement, which is up on the screen here. The space agency opened up access to about 36,000 historical RadarSat-1 images. And, as I said, I started my career actually tasking the satellite, doing the conflict resolution and the planning for the commercial order desk at RadarSat International. And I knew there was a lot more than 36,000 in the archive. And I also knew that because of the opportunities I've had to develop applications, to develop services, that there was a need probably in the community to do more with the data than what was being made available in terms of the processing levels and how the data was distributed and so on. So immediately after that announcement, I went through to the channels that were opened up. So for those of you who don't know, there's a really great service that's been created by NRCan, which is called EODMS, the Earth Observation Data Management System, I think it is. Yeah. And EODMS is the way that imagery can be searched and can be downloaded. You have to register for an account, but there's a lot of free data that's available through there, including this RadarSat-1 open data. And this was in April, right? So in April, I went on EODMS, I got an account. Thank you for posting that link. I saw somebody just posted the link on Slack there, perfect. So then I went through the process of downloading imagery and I just, I found it frustrating. I knew there had to be a better way. So I kind of let it sit for a few months. And then I forget, one day I kind of saw this Space Apps thing pop up and I'm like, you know what? I bet you I can go there. And even though I don't know how to write code, I'm going to find some people who do know how to write code. And I've got a business problem that I think needs to be solved. So I went there, I took off my PCI hat and I went there as a private citizen. It was on a Friday night, I think is when it started.
Yep.
I walked in and it was kind of intimidating. There was like this group of science students and they were sitting like face to face and they all had their laptops up and they were already writing code. And I'm like, it's Friday night. Like, what are these people doing? They already are writing code. Like, wow, these people are serious. Anyway, so I went in there and the first person I met, I don't know if you can go back a couple of slides there, Nick, I'll point out the first person in the room.
There you go.
The first person I spoke to in the room was Adam. So Adam's the guy with the, just behind the two ladies in the front there. He's got kind of the flip in the back row. So Adam Simonini, I'm like, hey, who are you? And he's like, I'm Adam, I'm Kevin. And then I described to him kind of what the problem was. And Adam is not anything to do with Earth observation. And he started to challenge me. He started to ask me questions. And really what he was doing is he was doing like requirements building, right? He was trying to understand what the problem was, whether it was an interesting problem or not, whether he could play a role in helping to solve that problem. And he kept asking me. And then I'm like, well, these other people that are in the room, and we had some fantastic resources available through the hackathon. The lady right in the front there, the glasses, her name is Julie Claveau. And Julie was one of the judges, but she also happens to be the person that's responsible for the RadarSat-1 open data project. So she was the perfect person to go talk to about any questions we had about what the plans were or how we could get better access. And then there were some other people from NRCan who came and were mentors. So anyway, so the first conversation I had with Adam was really good. And then Nick was actually organizing the event. And I think had planned to spend the weekend supporting and mentoring. But I don't know how it happened, Nick, but I guess you caught wind of what I was up to and you became interested.
I couldn't resist. It was the challenge. So for those who don't know, effectively, we're given a lot of challenges during these events, and we have 48 hours to work together as a team to solve them, but you're given open data sets and really just some guidelines of what you can do. And so it's so magical to have all these people. I mean, you mentioned Julie and all these supporters from Enercan, but they're there. They have the knowledge. You can tap into the scientific knowledge along with people who don't know anything about this, but have other skills all at the same time. And that's what's so unique about this kind of event. Over a 48-hour period, you've got everybody in the room and elsewhere who can kind of help. And actually, I do have a team shot of us sort of later, but why don't you sort of briefly explain your concept, which I think was magic here?
Sure. Yeah. So the key issue that I found as I was describing the excitement about the announcement of the open data, and then the kind of the this isn't working exactly the way I want it. And it was around just data discovery, because one of the big challenges that CSA has is, there are, I believe it's something on the order of 1.6 million possible RadarSat-1 images that they could go and process. Doing so would be prohibitively expensive and not necessarily the best thing to do from a taxpayer point of view if the data that gets processed never gets used. So in my mind, the first thing that needed to happen was to expose an easy way for people to at least explore what data was available. And I sort of came in, and this is kind of where we ended up pretty early. I said, let's build realtor.ca for RadarSat. Let's build a really simple, easy to navigate interface where people can, zoom into their area of interest and they can discover what data is available. It should be a seamless experience. I'm sure a lot of you who are in the geospace will feel my pain and will know that the traditional way of searching involves drawing an area of interest, filling out a whole bunch of filters, and then hitting the search button and then waiting for the results to come up. And what I've found is, the real estate industry has figured this out. If you go to realtor.ca, it automatically clusters the icons based on where you're zoomed in on the map. So like if I'm interested in buying a house in Ottawa, I've got my neighborhoods that I like. I'm going to zoom into that neighborhood. It's going to filter everything else out and show me, what houses are available over that area. Same story for this, right? If I'm a researcher, if I'm a company that's trying to figure out what data is available, I'm going to zoom in to maybe the Strait of Gibraltar because I'm trying to do a machine learning model for ship detections. So I'm going to see how many images are available over the Strait of Gibraltar, over the Suez Canal, those kinds of areas. If I'm into ice monitoring, I'm going to go to the areas that I'm interested in. So let the user zoom into the areas that they're interested in, and then give them filters. And if you go to realtor.ca, you have this, right? Well, the first filter I always put in is the budget. I filter, minimum, maximum. I can't afford $1 million home, unfortunately, so I usually set the target as high as that. So these are some filters that would kind of make sense from a RadarSat-1 search point of view. So let the user pan and zoom over their area of interest, and if the screen is still too cluttered, then give them some filters so they can narrow their search. Take out everything that is too low resolution, or take out anything that's not collected between certain dates. But really give the user that seamless, quick, rapid data exploration experience. That was kind of the concept that we went with. And then those guys built it. I just told them, hey, this is what we should build.
And that's a shot that we took of everybody, I think, looking quite relieved on the Sunday when we'd done all the work. But shout out to Alan Higginson also, who was part of the team. And again, I think that the key point here is coming up with that concept and focusing on the user experience is a characteristic of space apps. I'm going to talk about that in my presentation tomorrow, but it is part of that profile of what a space app is, because otherwise it's a software application that uses data from space. I mean, we've all used those or built those or so on, but this focus on the user experience and this key concept, like the idea that you had, and challenging the idea from a what's the business need perspective, and then worrying about the technology is, I think, an element that really comes together in the hackathon environment, because during this period, everybody who has these different skills and ideas and so on, and sometimes never worked together as we hadn't, we're all in the room, we're all ready to, commit and to try things out and so on. And over a short period of time, we can see how far we can push it. So it was definitely a fun experience. I think we were a little tired by Sunday night.
Yeah, we look a little tired there. I think you slept on a bunch of chairs. You pulled an all-nighter.
I did, yes, and I ended up getting about half an hour of sleep on 3 chairs piled together. And actually, there was another team there working even longer than that. So yeah, if you want to work 48 hours straight, you can certainly do so. I don't recommend it, but you know, when you're having fun and you've got a deadline, sometimes that's what you do.
Well, to me, it was my first experience, and that was the beauty of it, was the tight window, the team coming together, and then, you know, actually having something out the other end. I mean, the format of the hackathon creates that opportunity to make that happen, and that's really, really what stuck with me as a fantastic way to, you know, basically to move an idea forward quickly.
Well, it stuck with you so much that you and I then worked together on the COVID-19 special edition hackathon, which was just a few months ago.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So we just did that. How long ago was it? Maybe a month ago, I guess.
Yeah, May 30 to 31st.
Yeah. So NASA, JAXA, so Japanese Space Agency, Canadian Space Agency, and European Space Agency co-organized this special edition hackathon, which we decided to do together once again. So yeah.
There's a note in the Slack chat for those of you who are joining. It's actually a dedicated channel. You're welcome to comment in there. Somebody's mentioning that link that we specified isn't working. It's true. The app is actually turned off. It's on Amazon Web Services, but I'd be happy to turn it on so that people have a chance to kind of look into the prototype that we built. Obviously, I won't do that now, but right now that's temporarily off. But yeah. Speaking again about the code.
I've got a video, Nick. I'm going to post the link to the video that does a walkthrough.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So while he's doing that, we actually undertook that COVID-19 challenge. A group of us, including the people from the previous hackathon, Adam Simonini and Alan Higginson, but also Justin Mosby and Corey McKinnon. And we had assistance from other people as well. We tried to take a challenge that had been posted called Light the Path. And the idea here was that you could take atmospheric data, you could look at night traffic pollution, which would indicate people moving around in a certain area, and you could correlate that to case incidences of COVID, either people that sadly died or people who were sick in these hospitals. And so we decided that we were going to try to take that challenge, and we spent a lot of time up front really bouncing ideas around, like what kind of data do we have available, what kind of data do we need, what are ideas, you know, things that we want to tackle, what kind of skills do we have. Our concept, which is remains in the design phase, we built a lot of the data infrastructure. We built some backend code, some web services, and all kinds of stuff. And the intent is to have a user experience like this, where you can put in, again, sort of like realtor.ca, you can put in an address of a city, or you can zoom into an area, and it shows you the cases that are present during that period. But at the same time, on the left-hand side, you can kind of see atmospheric metrics, in this case, light pollution or air quality. So the idea is that you could, over time, if you brought those measures back 10 days, let's say, or over 15 days, you could see if there was some change in that light pollution, indicating that you know, maybe there was more activity in a certain area, or if there's some change in the air quality, maybe indicating that there was some factory output or people were driving their cars around a lot. Does that relate to incidents of sickness and death in an area? And so this was the concept that we were working together to try to tackle, again, on May 30th to 31st as part of that COVID challenge. And Kevin, I think you've posted the link in Slack to the walkthrough of the radar sat. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a link to an MP4 file. It's a video that we actually had to record to submit our solution to the national challenge. And anyway, so that's, we had to do that as part of our submission to be entered for the national. So we were selected for the Ottawa, which was kind of exciting. And then we also were, I think we came in, we placed like top 6 or something like that nationally, like it was, yeah.
We did. I think we were the winner in the RadarSat category, but not the national winner overall.
Right.
So yeah, I was just explaining, as you heard, that, here's an example of a user interface. Again, the focus is on that, and how do you make sense of this information? And then behind the scenes, in order to support this, we were building web services and munging data. We had Tableau running to try to visualize things. We actually spent a number of hours up front really thinking through these different ideas, didn't we? I mean, we didn't jump straight into the code.
Yeah, we had a great team member who's a UI UX expert. His name is Corey McKinnon. Corey was a mentor at the Space Apps Challenge back in October, and I think he's been involved over multiple years as well. And
he's one of the organizers.
Yeah, he's one of the organizers. So Corey put us through ideation methodology around, what should the user do, or what does the user want to do. And we spent, and this is actually I'm not sure if this is a live version or a prototype, but the prototype looked pretty much exactly like the live version. So yeah, that was great. So
I think that's a pretty good run through of the two hackathons that we've worked on together, and obviously there are going to be more. Why don't we switch gears and talk a little bit about some cool moments in space, because we're obviously both interested in that, as I'm sure that many of the people on the call are.
Let's do it.
All right. So I picked this first one. I think a cool recent space moment was the New Horizons mission to Pluto. I think it was super cool because this was launched and took place over many years, 9 years of an enormous amount of distance of travel, and managed to advance, human knowledge of Pluto. What we knew in 2006 is on the left-hand side here. This was taken, I think, from the Hubble telescope. And 9 years later, this is what the picture started to be coming back. And to me, that ability to dream and plan and prepare, and down to a split second, at the risk of the mission getting derailed, for all kinds of reasons, including actually running into something on the way, and yet they still managed to achieve this. And so when I saw this, I think, this is one of my top moments in space exploration, and one of the reasons I love space, just the idea that humans can do this. And Kevin, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, this is pretty awesome. I mean, I guess they're still up there, right? They haven't come.
They are.
Yeah. So this was a pretty incredible moment. The SpaceX Crew Dragon. So I guess they did quite a few test launches before, and it was pretty recent. So was it at the end of May that they actually went up? I guess, yeah.
I think when we were working on our COVID hackathon on Sunday morning, actually this was being televised. So I think it was Sunday, May 31st, if I recall.
That's right. I remember that. Corey was keeping us updated. He was sending us links, and he's obviously another space nerd out there. So, yeah. I guess the big question, I remember when this was happening, I was watching Elon Musk's Twitter feed, and he was like all quiet. And I was kind of wondering, like, why isn't he like jumping up and down and all happy? And I guess the real test is like when these guys come back safely. That's when the real test happens. Because but
yes, they come back in August. I think that's the plan. But I think although it's an American mission, obviously it's cool that they're named Bob and Doug. I think that's we can claim some kind of vicarious thrill just based on their names there.
Yeah, the Great Wide North, the Bob and Doug.
Yeah, we're dating ourselves, perhaps.
Maybe some people like the difference.
So, Kevin, I mean, you're really interested in RadarSat. What do you think of this as well? That cool Canadian space moment, the RCM launch.
Yeah, pretty awesome. I mean, the launch went just off without a hitch, and I watched it live. We actually did a live broadcast the day of. And I've been there. I've watched 3 RadarSat launches now, not in person, but I've had the opportunity to be part of 3 launches. I started my career just after RadarSat 1 was launched. And then I saw the RadarSat 2 launch live. And at the time I was working for MDA. So it was one of those make or break kind of moments, like, do I have a job tomorrow kind of thing?
Wow. And
I know that some colleagues in the industry are living that right now. Like, for example, GHGSat, which is a Canadian startup company that's doing methane monitoring. they had a launch window scheduled at the beginning of July, I believe it was, or end of June, in French Guiana. And that window ended up closing, and now they have to wait until August. They had some weather concerns and so on. So it was great that it basically ended up launching when it did. There were a number of delays kind of leading up to it, which I wasn't surprised when that happened. But boy, once the rocket took off, it was smooth sailing. It was just amazing. The execution from SpaceX. I was thinking about all the launches I've seen over the years, and the ability for us to see the launches live and see all the separation stages and understand what's happening in real time. It's just incredible. Like, we're able to get pretty much like live, information as the launch is occurring. So yeah, our RCM is a huge deal for Canada. Really excited about the open data policy. The government of Canada has, announced that pretty early, and I'm just in the final throes, PCI and myself, of getting access to become a vetted user. There is a process that the government of Canada has had to put into place and respect, because we have the Remote Sensing Space Act in Canada, and there's there's due diligence on the behalf of the Canadian Space Agency and Global Affairs Canada to ensure that the data is used appropriately. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really excited to see what will be possible. I've been able to process some data and produce exciting products like INSAR products, so repeat pass, because there's 3 satellites. You can actually combine them and produce INSAR products from them, measure things like ground deformation, look at changes. Really where this particular mission is bringing us, and where the industry is going. I'm thinking about Capella, and I'm thinking about ISI. SAR is having a moment right now, and it's really exciting for Canada to be part of that. I think the future is really looking great of radar technology.
I definitely agree with you there. And what I found most interesting about this too, it says a lot about the state of the industry now, is first of all, the Canadian government took their flagship satellite program and put it on a private space operator based on the States, and in one launch. So it says something about the confidence that they had in SpaceX, obviously, that they could execute that properly, but also the fact that, they did that, I'm sure, for a variety of good reasons, but including the lower cost to orbit. And clearly that's a driver of so many things that we're talking about. And I've been watching that over the years. Obviously, we're all aware of that, but this to me crystallized that fact, that reality, that the government of Canada was willing to take this, I wouldn't even say take this chance, but to rely on a private company to launch these 3 satellites, and there's no backup plan. So that to me was amazing. And I also think it's cool, super cool, that the Canadian government was willing to do that in partnership with basically a new space company.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, SpaceX is changing the game, and it's excellent to have them as part of our ecosystem, for sure.
And my last cool Canadian space moment that I picked was, it's actually a video. I'm not going to play it today, but it's obviously Chris Hadfield playing Space Oddity on the ISS. And so I think somebody joked that was the music video with the highest budget ever. Did you see that, Kevin?
I did. With the bare. Is that the one where he played with the Bare Naked Ladies, or just on his own?
I think on his own, he was playing an acoustic version and then hanging out in a couple of the ISS as he circled the planet. Yeah,
I mean, Chris Hadfield, he's just a gem. He's just an absolute gem. When I see him and when I see what he's done for space, he made space cool again. There was a lot of kind of, I think for a number of years, people kind of, I don't know, tuned out. They didn't think space was cool. I don't know, Chris Hadfield, he just made it happen. And he's just, like, I'm just so proud to be a Canadian and to have him as one of our astronauts. He's just such a great role model. And it's things like this, Sure, he's not. He's not the best musician, but it comes from the heart, right? When he sang that song, he really touched us, all of us. I actually followed up with him. There's another guy that I found through Chris. His name is Danny Michel, if you guys are interested. He's a musician out of Toronto. He lives outside of Toronto. And he and Chris's son, Evan, I think his name is Evan Hadfield.
Yep.
They connected. And Chris was organizing an expedition on a Russian icebreaker. And he invited a small number of artists and experts to kind of be part of this journey up to the northern part of the Arctic, and do what they do. And this other musician named Danny Michel, he actually recorded some songs live on the vessel, and Chris sings on one of the songs with him. He's on the vessel with him. In Ottawa, we have the Chamberfest Music Festival here, and actually Dan Michel gave a live concert where he presented all of these songs. So it's called Kalishnikov, I think is the name of the vessel.
Okay.
I'll shoot the link out, but anyway, so Chris is just an amazing guy. Yeah, just super proud to have him as a representative of our country. He's a fantastic individual.
So I've actually put in the chat if anybody wants to suggest their cool space memories, recent or otherwise. I think that there's so many of those, it's sometimes hard to choose. But just on the Chris Hadfield point, it didn't matter what his age was and his background was, and he certainly wasn't trained to do this. But because he wanted to communicate and he was willing to do that with the tools that made sense and to connect with people, and he felt that urge to connect, and he's also an ambassador for us in many ways. But he took to the social media and this video and all the other things he did, all the photos that he took and so on, and reaching out to people on Twitter. And he would film those videos of, how crying works in space. He was just trying to communicate and to connect. And so I think it's a sign that, it doesn't matter what your age is or what your background is. If you want to reach out to people that way and you're willing to be open-minded about the tools in which you do it, then you can make that connection because people are out there and they're on different platforms and they're doing different things. But sometimes you have to go to where they are, and he was able to do that with Twitter and with the YouTube videos and so on. And yeah, he's a celebrity now. So if you have any suggestions, folks, on the chat, please feel free to jump in. Actually, we see something from Richard Osborne. So SpaceX landing the 2 boosters from Falcon Heavy. Chris Hadfield doing anything on the ISS? Yes, agreed. The first X Prize launch to space. Yes, that was a groundbreaker. And actually, I started really following space back in 2001 when Peter Diamandis launched the X Prize in the first place. And there were so many people competing, including some Canadian groups like the Da Vinci group. And at that point, nobody had actually done this yet. So the idea that a private space company, could actually create a reusable spacecraft of any kind was absurd at the time. I mean, this is something that governments did. So that's definitely a very cool moment. Oh, female spacewalk. Yeah, thank you, Karen. Absolutely. And it's a sign that, we need equality and we need diversity. That's been talked about a lot of this conference, and it was wonderful to see that and way over time. And thank you everyone for chatting on the Slack channel. We're going to switch gears now. Feel free to keep doing it. But we're going to switch gears and do a space quiz. How about that, Kevin?
Sounds awesome. Let's do it.
All right. Everybody sharpen your space wits and your space memories. Oh.
So if everyone's listening, we're going to do a Kahoot. Hopefully people know what that is. So I'm just going to start it.
And while Kevin's doing that, he's going to explain how it works. But there's a prize giveaway, which we promised you. It's actually quite unique, and it is thematically related, obviously, to what we're talking about. So we encourage you to do your best and have some fun with this quiz.
All right, let me just make sure I get this right.
Oh, and while you're doing that as well, not to throw some controversy into the room, but I think Pluto is a planet. If you disagree, you're welcome to put that on Slack, but that's my take on the world.
All right, so we've got a Kahoot going. I'm just going to make sure. Oh, can everybody see my screen? Okay, we got somebody joining. That's awesome. Hopefully everybody knows what Kahoot is. Make sure my video is working here. All right, we got some people joining. That's awesome. So you can join the Kahoot using. My preference is to use the phone as a gamepad, and then to watch the questions on the shared screen. If we were in a room together, normally the way this would work is we would all be in the same room, and you could see the projector in the front of the room, and I would show the questions there. So we're going to have to use a screen share as our projector for this. So I'm just going to log in. I've got the app. Whoops. I've got the app on my phone. So I'm going to, there's a button at the bottom there. It says enter PIN. So I'm going to hit enter PIN, and then I'm going to put the PIN number in there. So 118600, enter. And then it's going to ask me for a name. So I'm just going to put in my name. I'm not going to play, don't worry. Just putting in my name to test everything, make sure it all works. Once we've got enough people, we're going to get started. So when we run the Kahoot, basically what's going to happen is you're going to want to watch the screen where I'm sharing my screen so you can see the questions. And then you're going to want to use your phone, preferably. You can open another tab in your browser and use it as a gamepad as well. So if you can split your screen in two, or if you have two monitors, it tends to work better. You're going to want to answer on the gamepad, and you want to see the questions on the screen. We're going to do a couple warm-up questions before we get going, so that you get used to the interface and everything. And the warm-up questions are not worth any points, so don't worry. All right. So we got the launch music going on. It's coming through. So we're going to give it another 30 seconds or so. Looks like we got quite a few people joining. That's awesome. Oh, and the other thing too is we need to know who you are. So at the end, if you have a name like B, which we don't know who B is, we're going to need to know who you are so we can give you the prize. So make sure at the end to let us know who you are, either on the Slack channel, or you can let John or Tessa know, or Nick or I. It's N Kellett at deploy.solutions or Jones at PCI Geomatics. Just let us know that you were that person that won, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I forgot to mention that, but most people we can see who you are. So. All right, is everyone ready? We're going to get going. Let's go. All right, so welcome to the Deploy Solutions Kahoot, hosted by yours truly. So follow along with the questions on the Zoom call, so this screen that I'm sharing right now, and then use a phone or another tab/browser to enter your answers. Use it as a game tab. So we're going to do a warm-up question. The first part of the trivia is all about space. The second part is a little different, but it's equally kind of sort of about space. So we'll get to that in a minute. So the first question is a multi-select. So it's just a warm-up question. It's just so you get used to the interface. So we just want you to get used to entering the answers. So all of these are correct. So you can basically answer any one, or you can answer all of them. But the following questions, there's only one correct answer. In this case, it's all four. It's just to get you to get used to, A is red. So when you see the answer that you want to choose, you just choose that on your gamepad when you're ready to go. All right, so key thing before we get going for the points. Two things are important: speed and accuracy. All right, so Mikey was the fastest one. And then it was Leslie, and then it was TJ and David Cogs. Hi, David Cogs. Hi. Nice to see you.
So, Mikey.
Yeah. And all right, so here we go. So number one, the launch date of RCM was June 10th, 2019, June 12th, 2019, June 12th, 2020, June 13th, 2019. So I'm not going to answer. I'm going to stay out of it. Ooh, we put the dates really close to each other to confuse you a little bit. So I guess that strategy worked. Yeah, so this, I don't think the date was on here, but this was basically, I was mentioning this earlier, the live broadcast from SpaceX is just amazing to follow along. So that's great. So let's see who's the fastest one. Oh, looks like FC, whoever FC is. So good job. Let's keep going. So there's about, so there's 16 questions. So according to CSA, RCM will collect roughly this many images per day. Is it 15,000 per day, 50,000, 50 per day, 250,000 per day, or 685 per day? What does everybody think? And this is a RadarSat-2 image over Flevoland, which is a data set that MDA has made available for free for years. And most people who use RadarSat will recognize it. So, all right, it looks like, so the right answer was 685. The number that they actually publish is 250,000 a year. So you had to do a bit of math to figure it out. So there you go. And I guess it's a 50 times increase from RadarSat 1 in terms of data utilization, data capture. So pretty awesome. All right. Next question. As of June 12th, 2020, RCM collected approximately this many images. So 1 year after launch. How many images did RCM collect? Was it 1.5 million? Was it 51,100? Was it 5,000? Or was it 250,000? And actually what you see on the screen there is EODMS. I'm going to show you in a minute. So the right answer was 51,100. And the way I got that answer was I actually went into EODMS and I did a query to get the number of images. So I'm not quite sure I got a different number there, but I got a 51,000 when I did the query, when I put the quiz together. But I got a different answer when I put this graphic together earlier today. So there you go. So, but this is the closest answer. So there you go. Oh, someone's on a hot streak. That means getting a lot of right answers in a row and responding quickly.
Good job, Aaron.
Yeah. 3 correct answers in a row, Aaron. Good job. Okay, so in what year did SpaceX successfully launch its first rocket into orbit? Was it 2001, 2010, 2007, or 2008? So I guess if you're a SpaceX nerd, you'll know the answer to this one. Depending on when they formed their company and so on. Oh, it looks like not a lot of people got this one. So 2008 was the correct answer. And yeah, that was actually, I forget the name of the island that they did it from. It's a small island where they basically, they just lived there for months until they had a successful launch.
Oh, somebody in the Slack says, I don't know how to pronounce that, Richard. Kwajalein?
Oh, the name of the place? Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
In what year did SpaceX recover a spacecraft successfully? So these are the side boosters basically coming down. Was that in 2008, 2010, 2015, or 2020? And this is really the big game changer that SpaceX has brought in terms of being able to reuse the rockets over and over again and drive the price down. So the correct answer was 2015, and quite a few of you got that. So that's awesome. And this would have been the case for RCM as well. This was actually the star of the show for the RCM launch, was when the side boosters came back down. I think that's what.
That happened a little later, though, just for clarity. I think that was probably a year or two later that we had that show.
That's right. Yeah, the launch was, the RCM launch was later, but this was the first time that they recovered the side boosters. All right, Edward. Rich Q is the highest climber. You went up 13 places. All right, who was the first Canadian astronaut to walk in space? Was it Julie Payette? Was it Marc Garneau? Was it Chris Hadfield? Or was it Dave Williams? Had a chance to read Dave Williams' book. If you're interested, that's a great book as well. Really, really touching his whole story. He's a medical doctor. He's another great Canadian. Fantastic person. I was on a trip to Mexico. I bought the book at the airport, and I was finished reading it by the time I landed. It was a real page turner.
He was actually at the Canadian Space Society's annual summit. I think it was last year, was it not? Or maybe 2 years ago when he was publishing his book.
Right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Chris Hadfield was the right answer to that one. All right. Okay, how many trips has Chris Hadfield made to space? How many times has he been to space? Is it 1 time, 10 times, 5 times, or 3 times? Quite a few answers. Oh, a lot of people got that right. That's awesome. 3 times. I guess the last time was the longest stint, right? As the commander of the ISS. Was that his official title? Yeah.
I think it was, and maybe he stayed so long because he had a guitar and he had a nice view and he had a music video to film.
That's right. Things to do. Okay. Okay, which type of orbit does RCM fly? Is it a geostationary orbit, a medium Earth orbit? Is it a low Earth orbit? Or is it a polar and sun synchronous orbit? Wow, a lot of people answering quickly. That's good. People are getting competitive at the end, trying to get that speed in there. Perfect, lots of great answers. So, polar orbit and sun synchronous orbit. I guess the second choice was low Earth orbit there. That would be more for the higher resolution optical satellites. Those would be the ones that would be flying in that orbit. Primarily, right, Nick?
I think so, yeah. And I might have been inclined to answer that way, to be honest, but it turns out to be, I think it's sun synchronous.
Right. All right. Okay, so we're entering phase 2 of our trivia quiz. There's only 4 questions left, but this is space and drinks. So these questions all have to do with space and drinks. So get ready for the next few questions here. So cheers to all of you. I don't know if obviously we can't see each other, but which is too bad. But anyway, here we are. It's great to see so many people here. It's fantastic to have you here. So cheers to all of you. What was the name of the Scottish distillery that sent malt whiskey into space? Was it Ardbeg, Ardmore, Annandale, Aberlour? And there's quite a few distilleries available for answers. I looked it up and there was a long list of distilleries available to provide as answers. And I went with all the A's. There's quite a few A's. Woo! This one I think has leveled the playing field. So we got Ardbeg as our correct answer. Oh, FC's dropping. So we got Richard taking the lead. Ramin is the highest climber, up 7 places. Way to go, Ramin.
Yeah, good stuff.
Okay, 12 bottles of wine were sent to the ISS in November of 2019. They were from this famous wine region. Was it Bordeaux, France? Was it Marlborough, New Zealand, Tuscany, Italy, or Napa Valley, USA? And I guess this is a picture of them preparing to ship them. Bordeaux was the right answer. Good job, everybody.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Richard's still on top. Keep it going, Richard. You only got a few questions to go. You got a good lead. So let's see. All right. What was the name of the company that worked with NASA to 3D print in space? Was it 3D Systems? Was it Made in Space? Was it Stratasys? Or was it Space Xerox? I'm not sure if these are made up names, Nick. Did you just make up these names or are they real?
One of them may be made up.
Space Xerox. Sounds kind of made up. All right. Made in Space. Kind of a plain sounding name, but that's what it was.
It does what it says on the tin, but yeah, I made up Space as Xerox because of a play on SpaceX, obviously. But the other two are actually 3D printing companies for real.
Sorry, I hit next too fast there. What was the first alcoholic drink sent into space by cosmonauts? Was it A, vodka, B, gin, C, wine, or D, cognac? And we're giving you a bit of a clue here. You got a bit of a clue. What? We give you a clue. Everyone went for vodka. That's the most obvious answer, right?
I would have chosen that if I hadn't come up with a question, but yeah, not true.
Is this not a cognac glass and a cognac? Does this not speak cognac?
I think so.
I'm not an expert, but I don't know. All right. So we're going to reveal our winner. Here we go. Here's the podium. So third place, Tanya got 10 out of 16.
Good job.
Ryan.
Good job.
Place is Richard. Kept the lead. Way to go.
Richard. Hey, congratulations, Richard.
So why don't you tell the folks what they won? What beautiful prize they won, Nick?
All right, I'm going to take over the screen, and we will get back to your grand prize, which is a cool Space Achievement Celebration of the historic launch of Bob and Doug on the SpaceX Crew Dragon. You can get a custom-made 3D printed model with personalization options. You can see the real thing up the top, and the photo on the lower right is actually a 3D printed model of the SpaceX Crew Dragon, which I thought was kind of topical. And you get some options. We'll talk once you get in touch with me, but you can choose the color palette, and you can decide whether there's different ways of 3D printing it. So this is a pretty unique item, and congratulations for doing so well in the quiz.
Awesome.
So thank you for running that quiz, Kevin, and for being here and co-hosting with me. It's always just a pleasure to spend time with you. I know that these days it's all virtual, but I know that it will be in the real world again. And also, I wanted to, before we kind of wrap up, I wanted to quickly and shamelessly plug my talk tomorrow. I'm actually going to be talking about a software factory approach to space apps development and standardization. I think it touches on a lot of the key points that we've heard about in the various conversations this week. And it's tomorrow at 11:30. I think I'm the only game in town during that slot, but I certainly hope you can attend it. Kevin, thank you so much for being the co-host and doing such a great job at that.
Awesome. Great to be here, Richard. Nick. And I was texting Richard, telling him congrats on the Slack channel there. So I had a mental slip. But yeah, great to be here with you, Nick. As always a pleasure. Great to have so many people participate. It was awesome, awesome time. The hour went by really fast.
It did. So thank you all for attending, and for the Slack channel, it's still going to remain open if anybody wants to keep talking. If you need to get upstairs after having a little too much to drink, you could probably call a cab. Some of you may actually be at work, like I think Kevin is. But hopefully that was a really fun event. And again, thank you so much to Go Geomatics, to Tessa, and to John, and everybody else who's involved in giving us this chance to have this very cool online event. Everybody's reacting to COVID, but I think it was very, very cool the way that they've been organized and set everything up. And also that John suggested that you and I do this together, Kevin. I think that was a great idea.
Yeah, good call, John. Thanks for helping us make it happen.
Thank you both, guys. That was so interesting. I'm just new to the whole online and the events and stuff. The use of the Kahoot was amazing. The engagement from the audience, the questions were super interesting, engaging, and topical. Yeah, just absolutely fantastic activity. Thank you so much, both of you, for being a part of GeoIgnite. Kevin and PCI's participation always makes the event more special. Nick, we're so happy to have you and Deploy Solutions with us for the second conference and your silver sponsorship. We couldn't do this type of event without you, and anything Go Geomatics and the GeoIgnite team can do, you just let us know. And thank you to all the participants.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and hopefully I will see you at the talk tomorrow.
Definitely. See you, everybody, in the morning.
Thanks for being here.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Karen. Hi, Dave. Hi, all the people I saw. Awesome. Good to see you.
See you all.